I did quit my studies, right? And I was cleaning in the hospital at the time. So every time the money, and that's the tricky part. Even if you have this mindset of, oh, I just want to learn the skill, like every time you start making a little bit of money, then I'm like, oh, maybe I can quit my job earlier than I expected. The earliest challenge everyone faces, like finding a strategy that you can stick with, and that is following the market in a correct way. Once you mature as a trader, you basically strip down everything from your strategy. You do less confluences, less things. You're just like, okay, let me focus on these three overall directional plays that I can just, okay, this is exactly what I want to see, and then just focus on catching those instead of trying to catch everything. If I keep it simple, what is it right now? It's more based on timing of the market with the overall direction. So usually you see a range, you get a fake out, and then once it closes back inside the range, you have your confirmation that, hey, that was the fake out. And once you look at that building block inside the overall range, that's what I'm just trying to do. You need that guidance. You need somebody to show you, like, hey, this is what I've been doing, and to mimic that and then make that your own. I think that's the most important part.
All right, welcome to the podcast, guys. Welcome. And we've got today Sander with us, who has been trading for the last 4.5 years, 5 years, been doing prop for around 2.5 years, has received two payouts from us, totaling just over 10K, which is fantastic. So we thought it'd be good to invite him on to understand more about his background, his journey, where he is, how he got to where he got to, and what learnings we can unpack from that for you guys. All right, so. Welcome, Sander.
Thank you, Isaac.
All right, welcome. And you're in the Netherlands. We are just speaking before. I said
Yes,
the Dutch accent is very unique. So I picked that he was from Netherlands. Good.
very strong. And it's raining, so it's even
It's
more
raining.
soothing. It's even more soothing. Everything is coming together.
This coming together. All right, let's start with your journey. How did you get into trading? I see also a few books in the background, which means you must
Yes,
be a student, and that tells me you must take this pretty seriously. So I'd be interested to
yes,
know what was your
sir.
background before and what got you into trading. Let's start with that, and anything you can
Um,
highlight about that, please.
yeah, how I got into trading is basically it's a very common story, I would say. It's almost like it's the classic story of I remember in 2017 a friend came up to me and it was like, "Yo, did you hear about this crypto, about Bitcoin?" I was like, "I have no clue what that is." And he was like, "Oh, you can invest some money in it and it's gonna go high." And I was like, "Oh, that sounds like fun." That's how I basically operated. So I put some dollars in. I was 18. I think I put in like $500, which was quite a lot for me when I was 18. And of course it went up and I was like, "Oh my God, now we're at 3K, and if this now is gonna run, it's gonna be amazing." And then of course we bought like at the exact top, and then it just went down for 3 years. It was most classic buy high and it sell low. And I remember when it was going down that everybody was making money from the market moving the opposite way. And I was like, wait, so I'm losing money where everybody else is winning money. And I was like, oh, that sounds just like some, I don't know, that sounded so unreal to me. And it wasn't that time that I was getting into trading because I was just gambling and buying some coins. But that was like the first spark. And then from there, it just that spark kept like popping up throughout. And then 4.5, 5 years ago, I was like, let me actually try to learn this because it did like every time I just I looked at the chart for a little bit, it just kept this spark alive. And then 5 years ago, started learning a bit, of course, failing, failing, failing. And then 3 years ago, realized, hey, if you really want to do something with this, you gotta put in more effort. Like you gotta really study. You cannot just show up, do a little bit. Like I think everybody starts out like just experimenting a little bit. So that's when I started taking it seriously. Then even dropped out of college in the last year just to go full in because basically at that time I was like I was not feeling what I was studying. I was a little bit lost and trading was the only thing that kept popping up throughout this whole 20s because I'm 28 right now. And every time that kept popping up, and I was like, well, if that keeps popping up and that holds my interest, so then I just go all in on that. And then prop firms definitely is like the reason that gives me like that little bit of courage to actually take this step, right? Because I think getting personal capital and all that stuff, like that's how I learned about it first time. And that's a little bit scary, especially when you don't know what you're doing. So then prop firms are like, hey, maybe this is something for me. And from there, yeah, just took it and studied hard. And now we're here. And I've actually been full time since 3 months ago. So that's been amazing as well. Was very scary at the beginning, but now it's going a lot better.
So you've been trading full time for just 3 months.
Yeah.
But that means then for the last 4.5, 5 years, you've been trading sort alongside other things you were doing. And then
Yes.
you recent, okay, that echoes a lot of people because a lot of people come into the market already in something and they come into trading to escape something else, want for a better life. All right. So
Yeah.
that's what it is. So your pull to trading was you bought some crypto, it went up, then you bought more at the wrong time, it went down, then you watched people making money on the way down, you thought, how are they doing that? That sparked the interest, which was obviously
Yes.
people short in the market, and that's
Yes.
what got you hooked, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
similar to my story because I came into the market during the recession of 2008, during the credit
Mm,
crunch. And at that
yeah.
time, what was happening was everyone was losing money. Every business, I had a business at the time, financial services, that went down. And the only people that I saw that were making money were traders. So you're like it sparked an interest thinking, hold on,
Yeah.
how are these guys making money when everyone is losing? And secondly, if they can make money when everyone's losing money, what about how much more can they make when times become good again, when the economy
Yes.
recovers? So I can understand that entrepreneurial spirit. So that was a spark that got you in. So what did you start trading? Was it crypto, and how did you move on to say FX indices or whatever you trade at the moment? What was your journey?
Um, I started off with crypto, and from there, basically what I've like what happened is that I was starting to look for people who was like, let me get some people who are seem like proper educators. So I was looking for instead of like, oh yeah, these 100x coins, I was starting to look like more in the technical space and maybe lucky, but then I found through some crypto traders, I found Tom Dente, probably heard of that name, maybe not. Um, but he was a really like professional trader. He runs a trading desk right now. So I was watching some of his videos, and that was about trend lines, and he traded FX. So I was like, hey, maybe FX is something. And then from FX, basically looking up other YouTubers in the space, then found my mentor, and he basically told me everything I needed from here. So yeah, it's quite natural just through YouTube, just the whole online space, right? Just clicking, trying to find like the guy who I can latch onto and learn from. And that's where, thank God, I found my mentor because he really helped me. And the rest is kind of history. And right now, the first fight between indices and FX, because in the beginning, when I was just going full time, like even the start of the year, like FX, I just got crushed with all the tariffs and all the volatility. That's where I was like, hey, maybe I need a second strategy, something like something else than FX. So now I can just diversify in that way that I'm not stuck anymore between one strategy. But I would say as a beginner, stick to one strategy and one thing, because I think that happens to everyone where they're trying to diversify every time a market goes bad and they don't learn anything. And I think
Understood.
that's very important because for me as well, like I wrote out all the bad things. And even with my funded accounts, I always try to not blow them at all. Like I remember one time I got into 18R drawdown because I was risking zero point 0.5 and I crawled my way up with like an all the way up just because I was like, hey, I need to learn from these bad periods in the market. So next time when it happens, I can identify it and adapt to it. And I think that's a very important lesson.
That's a great point. Learning from your mistakes it's important as traders that we learn from our mistakes because I'm sure you'd agree, you learn more from your mistakes than you do from the correct actions you take.
Yes, for
It's
sure.
almost assumed that correct actions lead to correct results, true, but to get there, we have to navigate through the sea of mistakes, over
Yes.
risking. even under risking, you know? All of those things come into it and learn yourself. So what was your perception coming into trading? What did you expect? And what did you find to be the reality?
Oh, that's a good question. What did I expect? I didn't have much expectations, to be honest. Like I've always been, um, like I said, like the reason that people shorted and that sparked an interest. It was more of an interest of the game than I was like, oh, I want to make all this money, like shorting and longing and all that kind of stuff. I was just like, how are people doing this? So I think my expectations was always built on that. So I never got these crazy ideas because my dad always was like, if it's too good to be true, it cannot be real, right? So I was like, every time I see like, oh, I make 10% in 1 month consistently, I was always like, eh, that sounds a little bit like I was always a skeptic, I would say. So my expectations were always very low. So I would almost say like I remember in December and November, I actually got on a 10 trade win streak. And that was for me was like, wait, that cannot be. I will almost like I felt like that cannot be real for me. I was like, that's not something that can happen just like that. But I mean, so expectations, reality is a little bit different for me than I see most people because I see some people coming in and they're like, oh yeah, I want to make like 10% consistently, but I've never been like that because the reality is just like, hey, slow and steady. That's the way to go, in my opinion.
Very interesting. I think you picked up some great points there. And where you're fortunate is that you went in the right direction early on. Okay. So,
Yes.
what I mean by that is you adopted a mature mindset, which was let me learn how to do this rather than let me make a ton of money from this. Let me, you know, look at this as an escape from what I'm currently doing. I think you're more interested in mastering the skill rather than the short term, I'm going to use this as a short term income generation. Would I be correct in saying that?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
100%. Yeah.
And
Of
I
course,
think
I made
probably,
by mistake. Of
of
course, like
course.
when you get that first funded account, you're like, oh, maybe I can, because I did quit my studies, right? And I was cleaning in the hospital at the time. So every time the money, and that's the tricky part. Even if you have this mindset of, oh, I just want to learn the skill, like every time you start making a little bit of money, then I'm like, oh, maybe I can quit my job earlier than I expected, right? And then you
Mhm.
have to battle all these demons, like, chill. Remember where you got in from it, and that's really funny, even to me. I'm like, I'm not that, I wouldn't say I'm that guy, and still it affects me. And I think that's the difficult part about,
How did you? I think that's fascinating. So, what were the challenges that you had in trading, and how did you overcome them?
um, I think well, the challenges I faced, I think that the earliest challenge everyone faces, like finding a strategy that you can stick with, and that is following the market in a correct way. Because in the beginning, you want to short, you want to long, you want to scalp, you want to swing, you want to do everything all at once. You're like, I can be that person who can do it all. Basically, that's how I felt about it. So my first hurdle was just stripping everything down and don't because I like I said the spark was the short, right, was going short. So every time the market would go short, I was just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna counter trend trade. And then now I've realized like, hey, it's so much easier, just right away and then wait out to till the wait. Okay, a pullback happens. Maybe I'll take a little short, but just wait for everything to be back in line with that overall trend, even if it's bearish or bullish, and just longing or shorting with the trend basically. And then as well, like the money aspect, I think having to deal with the fact I was working 5 hours a day and then studying 8 hours and just that whole thing of the cycle of every day you wake up, you're just like always going, 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 going. And I think a lot of people feel this as well, right? So when you get a little bit of success, your mind just starts holding on to that because you're like, oh my God, I don't have to do this 8 hours, 5 hours, 8 hours, 5 hours. I can finally relax. And that's where you need to just zone down again. And I think just, yeah, finding the right guidance. So finding the right mentor who suits you Then second of all, just understanding the basic technicals, and that it doesn't have to be as complicated as it seems to be, because I think once you mature as a trader, you basically strip down everything from your strategy.
Mm.
You do less confluences, less things, and you're just like, okay, let me focus on these three overall directional plays that I can just, okay, this is exactly what I want to see, and then just focus on catching those instead of trying to catch everything, like this low-hanging fruit or easy money trades, whatever people call it. And I think that's like those two things, finding the right guidance and knowing like these are my low-hanging fruit trades, which I can build from. That's are the two things.
I see. I think what's interesting there is you're saying you started off with complexity and you've come down to simplicity. Yeah.
Yes.
So I think what happens is a lot of traders start with a complex viewpoint where they think by knowing more, by doing more, by having more, they'll get to the end result quicker. And as they proceed, what happens is they realize actually we need to strip away because there comes a point when all of this becomes noisy rather than giving you clarity. So the only
Yes.
way to gain clarity is then to get rid of things, strip it back to basics, and then just build one block at a time until you get something that works for you. Would that typify your journey?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think so for sure. Even like the books behind me, right? They're now just decoration because they look nice. But it was like, oh, let me get this bar for bar price action, thick book, 600 pages, screenshots, like
Trader Price, is that what's his name? Who's that? Who's the author? Trading Process.
Al Brooks.
Al Brooks, yes, I know Al
Yeah,
Brooks.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah, yeah.
cool. Yeah,
He's very, very technical, very bar by bar and trying to interpret everything from a bar.
yeah,
I think some aspects of you are useful, but some of it can be a bit too much. Like what you're saying makes sense to strip it because markets either go up, down, or sideways.
yeah,
We know the majority of the time they kind of move sideways, and every now and then they have a move up, depending on your time frame. So, for example, if you're trading a longer time frame, like a swing trade, position trade, you can have more of a bullish bias if you're trading indices. If you're trading forex, they trend up for a few months, they trend down for other few months. So your approach needs to be different, which depends on the market. So you came from crypto and then you went into FX. Now you're looking to diversify into indices. How has your strategy changed from the beginning to now and your approach to the markets? I know you've simplified, but practically what do you do different now to what you did before?
Ooh, a lot. Like I
Okay.
can't even like it's just completely because yeah, it's just completely different. I would say like it's not because I started off with trend lines and now I'm going more into I don't even know how to call it. People call it ICT, but I don't even I've not studied ICT, but I don't yeah, it's all just names. I would say it's all just in the range. Like if I keep it simple, what is it right now? It's more based on timing of the market with the overall direction. So usually you see a range, you get a fake out, and then once it closes back inside a range, you have your confirmation that hey, that was the fake out. And once you look at that building block inside the overall range, that's what I'm just trying to do. Is like get the lower time frames aligned with the overall move. Whereas before, I didn't know where the overall trend was going. I didn't know where the lower time frames was going or how to get in sync. Right? I think that's how it changed. Like you finally understand, okay, I think the market is going up, but then you keep getting taken out on a lower time frame. So I think that's the biggest thing that's changed is getting in sync with, hey, this is where I want to start executing.
Okay. Getting in sync. That's very important. So you change your approach as you progress, which is natural. You came in with, I guess, with an open mind, which has helped you. And then from a strategy perspective, you've gone what it sounds like if you studied the markets, and then from there you're trying to work out how they move and to go in line with that, rather than trying to impose your own strategy or approach. It looks like you're trying to read the market to see what's happening. So, for example, when you mention fake out, right? What does a fake out mean? It means okay, there's a liquidity run to the highs, for example, false move, liquidity pull, looking potentially short. as long as it lines in with the overall trend. Again, you're reading, you're looking at evidence of that something has happened and taking action accordingly, which is very mature. Like it's a lot to compress. You've come quite far in a short period of time,
Yeah.
So I
Well, it's
congratulate
also
you.
thanks to yeah, thank you. It's also thanks to a mentor, right? Because I he helped me with everything basically. Like without him, there was no nothing. I think that's very important, right? I was like, because I was always smart. So I think when you're smart, you feel like, oh, I can. Like that's the funny thing, right? When you were in school, right? Oh, you don't really have to study. You get like a 7, and you're like, okay, chill, and you go on with your day, and then you go into trading, and it's the complete op. You cannot half-ass trading. I think that's what I want to also tell everybody. You cannot half-ass trading. Like yes, in school sometimes you can get like all the grades if you're, but then in trading it's completely you need that guidance. You need somebody to show you like, hey, this is what I've been doing, and to mimic that and then make that your own. I think that's the most important part, and
Very
that
interesting.
weekly, daily guidance is very important.
Okay, so you're saying mentoring, guiding helped you a lot, yeah? Is that something you'd recommend for everyone, or do you think that was something you needed in particular?
I would recommend it to everyone. I think like I would say that it's almost like yeah, there's gonna be people who don't need it, but I think in trading what I see is like when you start learning guitar, you're gonna go to a guitar teacher. If you learn soccer, you go to or football, you go to a football coach. So whatever people do in life, they go to university, they get a mentor, they get a coach. But for some reason in trading, people are just like, no, I only want free education and that will be enough. It's like, how can everything in life, if you want to get good at a skill, you need like a mentor, but then for some reason that doesn't apply to trading, just sounds wrong to me.
That's, uh, that's an excellent point, actually. You're right. Because there's so much information out there that it can give the illusion that you don't need any assistance or help to do it. And some people may be able to figure it out on their own through much work, hard work, mistakes, etc. Anything is possible. But you're
Exactly.
right. I think you need some kind of guidance, at least to know, to point you in the right direction. Like when I started trading, I came across some actual traders who were trading for a futures prop firm. Yeah.
Mm,
And they set my expectations because they said to me, don't expect to make money for the first year. So all you need to focus on is just breaking even. Um, just work out if you can do this or not. They pointed me a few directions. They were using like just candlestick patterns and things, so nothing complicated.
yeah.
But they were looking at like volumes and order flow and a few other indicators. So and in economic factors as well. That pointed me in the right direction. But what that did is it set an expectation to say, okay, let me give myself a chance to learn to see if I can do something or not. And then I went on to get training, coaching. I worked for a coaching company and everything. But you're right, that guidance and that surrounding yourself with in the right environment with the right people, especially in trading, is important because you are going against the grain. You're doing something where the majority of people fail. So you have to think, what do I have that's going to give me success
Yeah.
versus the others that are failing? What would you say is your edge? Coming on to that then, what do you believe has led to you being successful in trading?
Versus other people?
Yeah, or versus
Or
yourself.
just
Let's say
versus
you
myself?
versus yourself versus your old
You
self. How have
versus
you
my
been
old
able to
self.
success and say versus the masses? Yeah.
Sometimes I don't even know, but I would say, um, I think it's just that healthy mindset, I would say. Like I'm a like even like just I think I think the ability I have is like learning how to learn and ask the right questions and being open-minded has been my greatest asset. Because I see a lot of people who then oppose their own questions on other persons and then don't really listen because they want to learn their answer, right? They want to be guided in the direction that they are going. Where I'm always like, okay, I'm just gonna take whatever this mentor says to me at face value. I'm gonna 100% completely accept that this is the truth and then find out, test it if it's actually true. instead of being like, but I saw this and I know this and I know that, right? Always keeping that open mind. And of course, there's gonna come a point where you have to be like, okay, now I'm going my own way. But I think, especially in the beginning, just I think the ability to keep saying every time I was very down, or like even like just before I had my break, right? I couldn't make trading work. I sat on the couch and I was depressed. Not depressed. I was just feeling like I was like, I don't know. I even told my girlfriend, I was like, I don't know how I'm ever gonna make this work. I'm putting in the hours, I'm putting in the work, I still don't get it. I still everything is happening, and then just being so honest to myself to saying like, have you really put in that work? Have you asked the right questions? Have you seek the right guidance? What have you not done yet? And I think that moment of honesty and then being like, okay, let me find this person, that let me do all the steps he's outlined, let me put in that extra step of work, and like every time I kept being down, just to go back to the basics, go back to that student mindset. So every time everything come crashing down, just be like, okay, overview everything that's happening. What can I learn? How can I adapt? And I think that's my thing. Instead of keep hitting my head, just being that honesty with myself.
So what you're saying basically is you have a great attitude to learning, and that's what you brought into trading. That's what helped you because it's meant then you don't have to pigeonhole yourself or keep bumping yourself against the wall. You're pulling back to think, okay, let me learn from someone who's done it and let me trust their process and then verify along the way. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I think that's really helped you well. It served you well. It's
Yeah.
a great attitude to have because you're not trying to work it out on your own. You're realizing your own limitations and seeing that you need help to do this properly, but you're doing it in a positive way, which is I'm going to trust, learn, and apply and make it work. Okay. So I think the ability to learn is a great skill set.
Yeah, and especially also because I have a guitar behind me, I think like just like I've done that for now almost 20 years. I've been playing the guitar, right? And you just like once you've learned a skill, I think that's the biggest thing. Once you've learned a skill on any level, doesn't matter which skill, you kind of know how the progression is gonna be. Like with guitar, it's gonna be like this, and then all of a sudden it went like boop, and then you go like this again. So I know in those moments I was like, there's gonna come a point if I keep at it that I'm gonna do this. And I think having already gone through those kind of plateaus also is really healthy for your mindset, right? Because I think it's very easy to lose hope if you never learn the skill to be like, I'm just plateauing for 1.5 years. What's going on? And then once you're out of that plateau, you never go like a little level up. That's what I find funny about the skill. It's always like a big jump into the next thing. I don't know if you've always experienced that in
I
your
have.
own life.
It's what I would say the moment of breakthrough. Yeah. So you plod away, you do your time, you're being consistent, you're showing up, you're showing up, you're showing up, but your results are just like this, or they might be just slightly going up. And there comes a point, something happens, and then boom, you go to the next level in learning and accomplishment results. That's the breakthrough moment. But that breakthrough won't happen unless you keep showing up. And you can't predict when it's going to happen because it's nature's way or the universe or God's way of saying you will have this when you're ready. You'll have your breakthrough when you're ready, but you have to earn it by being consistent. So
Yeah.
when was your moment of breakthrough, would you say?
I think last year in I think it was March and June actually. Because I was like I was at the couch moment, right? I was like, okay, let me find a man. And then from there, 3 months later, I found an edge because I think like everything just came together, right? The learning I did before and now having that guidance with something that I understood. And then when I had that breakthrough, everything was going great, and then everything came crashing down as fast as I had the breakthrough. But because I already made that breakthrough, I could reset now and be like, wait, what was I doing in those periods? And what's changed now? And it was just, me not being that mature yet, also with the strategy. We hit a very big ugly range. So I was like, so that's where I kept trading the same way. But of course, it's a range bound market, so you have to adapt to that. Didn't know how to do that yet in that strategy. Learned from that. And then ever since that, like that's just the breakthrough, right? It's just been like boop, 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 and every time something happened in the market, the breakdown became less and less. So it was more of a really an up curve instead of just being like every time back to zero.
I see.
So yeah, it was basically the right guidance that really helped me have that breakthrough.
Okay. Excellent. And how long have you been trading prop? I know not that long, but you got into it quite early. How's your prop experience been, and how's your experience been with CK Capital as well?
With prop for 2.5, yeah, it's been, I mean, it's been pretty good. Like, I think my experience with prop firms, like, I'm just, I always feel like, because I see so many people complaining all the time, and I'm just like, why are we complaining about this? Like, I just can't understand it. It's because it's just, my experience have always been good. Like, if you just stick to the rules, if you just trade well, then I've never experienced any like everybody I know who's doing good with prop firms and is just doing their strategy, not over risking, not over leveraging, nothing funny. Everyone's experience is just chill. And it's always the people I see who then over risk or over leverage or just buy challenge, blow funded, buy challenge, blow funded, and then they are the ones who are complaining, so to say. So for me, it's been really good.
Okay.
And as well with CK Capital, I mean, the support team is hands down the best support team I've ever met so far in prop firms. Was very fast response, very nice. Um, and yeah, like now everything is going way smoother because I remember back in December it was a little bit slow, some things because yeah, you're starting up, it's starting business. I think that's also something people have to real like that's what I mean. Like people always look at oh what I should get, right? If you want a good experience with prop firm, don't think of what I should get because it's always me. Everything is mutual in life. So if you're going with a starting business, yeah, there's gonna be hiccups, but hey, then those hiccups get solved, and all of a sudden you're already there and you're getting amazing payouts without any trouble. So
That makes sense because what you're saying basically is just stick to the rules, and that's what prop firms are just access to capital, subject to rules and conditions. I think too many people try and shortcut that, and we all do it. We all thinking, okay, this 100K account is only $500. You know, what have I got to lose? Let me try and game it. Let me swing for the fences, see if I can make 5, 10K.
yeah,
Fair enough, but that leads to abuse, and it doesn't lead to longevity. And what prop firms are really looking for, like any person that allocates money, is just someone who can be consistent, follow rules. So as long as you do that, then I think the prop space will continue to offer opportunities, despite what people say. So
yeah,
you're right in that the people who are successful are happy with props. The people who are trying to shortcut the system are the ones who are getting caught and having problems, having their accounts banned and all the rest of it. So you're doing well by continuing in that light and staying focused on risk as well.
yeah.
So next question is you received your payouts, or what are you going to do with the money?
Just have it on my bank. I mean I'm just full time, so like for me every penny I can save up, like of course I'm gonna reinvest a little bit in the prop firm space. Yeah, buying more challenges, getting more capital. That's my only focus, right? I'm now full time, so it's like reinvest a part of the money, the rest on the bank, and just chill. I'm just not that materialistic.
Very
Like
good.
they always joke about it, like the guys I'm with and trading with, like they're always like, oh, he lost paying taxes. He's just a typical Dutchman who is like, oh, just let me keep my money and be chill.
But it's fair. How did it feel being able to make the withdrawal and receive it? Did you have any sort of emotional feeling to that? Was it like verification, validation that this is working? Was there anything you felt or nothing?
I remember when I first got like my funded accounts, that's when I had like a big moment, like okay. And then the payouts just felt it's strange because it's almost like one of those things where it's like if you work so hard at it, once it finally all happens, it's like okay, when you get your funded account, you're amazing. Then the payouts start rolling in, and it just you because my expectations were like, oh, I'm gonna have that rocky moment, It's like, yeah, fucking, we did it, and then it's like, oh, that's because you just take a trade. It's just another day. You take the trade, and the money rolls in, and you're like, wait, that's how it works now. That's how I made money. Especially when you're cleaning for 5 hours in the hospital, cleaning blood off the floor, and then you place a trade and you get money. It almost feels like it's just a little bit weird, but yeah, it feels good. And then of course I took my girlfriend out for dinner, and those kind of things are then very nice. Like I
Yes.
would say what I spent some is like getting some nice food is always, I think it's one
There's
is
a
nice.
reward, yeah. I think as
Yeah,
soon as you get a payment, you have to reward yourself with something because it
yeah.
reinforces and then it tells you that okay, you're doing the right thing and can keep continuing that. So it's great. My final question is this: what advice would you give to someone new or to yourself if you are starting out today?
Mm, definitely get guidance. Um, Focus on the overall direction of the market. Don't try to just stick to the direction of where the market is heading. Seek that guidance. And I would, the one number one thing that's always been kept in my mind ever since I made breakthroughs, only focus on the next step. Don't think about the big payout. Don't think about I need to reach 10%. Don't think about because it all doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you're gonna do next week. It's all about, hey, what am I gonna do today? Am I gonna backtest? Okay, that's your only focus for today. Do I need to watch a YouTube video? Okay, that's your only focus on today. So don't like because I'm always someone who's in my head, always looking at the future, always. So I think learning that skill of being present for what am I gonna tackle today? Because that's the only thing you can really, in the end of the day, that's all you can do is in this moment, be present, do those steps, and then what happens later just comes natural.
Interesting. So in other words, what you're saying is get guidance so you know what to do. And once you figure out what to do it, keep doing it, focus on what you need to do, get rid of the noise, the other stuff that gets in the head, and just focus on taking out one action for the day, focusing on that. Yeah,
Yes,
perfect. I think we'll wrap
100%.
up there with a
Amazing.
final thing of saying focus 100% is needed. And you're an example of that. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank
I
you
look
too.
forward to your continued success and speaking future events when you make even bigger withdrawals from
Yes,
us
sir.
and any other prop firms you're with also. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Thank you for your time, Sander.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye
Ciao,
bye.
Isaac.